Welcome back to the channel. This week we're spending our entire time with this 2025 Ford Explorer ST. Now this is my second time with the new Ford Explorer platform. I got to go out to Bromont, Quebec a little while ago, actually in October, and spend some time with it there, but it just wasn't enough time to do a full feature video, a full review, or anything like that. That's why this video here and the review will be the first time you see the Explorer platform or the new Explorer platform on the channel. You'll have to excuse the wind. It is wintering to the max level here. It's extremely freezing, but let's take a look at this thing. It looks really, really cool. First of all, if you live in Quebec, you've probably seen this car in a different kind of shade. It's probably a cop vehicle. So the police do like to use these kind of vehicles, and I get why. It is a twin-turbo V6 with around 400 horsepower. I think it's right at 400 horsepower. And this is, you know, the best engine that you can get in the Explorer in 2025. You've also got some nice red brakes. I like the red color as well. This is such a nice, clean color, nice and big wheels as well. Not a lot of changes. This is a mid-cycle refresh, so you're not going to see a lot of huge changes here for the exterior. We do have the quad exhaust, which, you know, not the most noisy things in the world, but do look really, really cool with this paint color. I really like it. Got the rear wiper. All that stuff is pretty standard. Let's walk around the side here again. Really, really good side profile, easy to get in and out. Let's take a look at the front, because that's where I think a lot of the changes are. Especially with the ST, you kind of get like this blacked out grille. It's a little wider than I remember it being on the last year's model. And look, if you go with the other trims, you can get kind of like a chrome grille, but I like the blacked out look on this Explorer. It looks really, really clean, really mean. And yeah, it does look like our police cars here in Quebec. I've actually had a couple of people look inside the car to see if I was a cop or not. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, it's really cold. So let me mount the GoPro up and let's give you my first impressions for the Ford Explorer ST. All right, so on the road now in the, well, I guess dark, sort of. I mean, Canada winter is just, it gets dark so early here, but still got enough daylight to talk about my first impressions. So, well, sort of second impressions, because like I said, I got some time in October to actually drive this car. We drove it like a mountain trail, stuff like that. But I didn't get enough time to spend with the ST. I spent time with the Premium or the Platinum. I can't remember what it is without actually looking at it. If you want all like concise facts, go watch the main review. That's where everything's like bang, bang. This is just off the top what it's like to live with the vehicle. And look, I remember really liking it for the short amount of time I had. You know, these press launch events, they're so short. You really only get like an hour with the vehicle. But now I've got an entire week and I've got some power in a V6 twin turbo. The way in which this SUV distributes power and moves is really, really impressive. It is a really heavy three-row SUV, but oh my goodness, you can kind of understand why the cops want a vehicle like this. This thing has really good acceleration, really, really good, you know, it just moves all of its weight so well and efficiently. Handling isn't that bad either. There's not a ton of body roll here. I feel like it's got a ton of control. It's got the all-wheel drive, of course, so I'll be able to kind of do these speeds in the winter more or less. And it's also a really nice ride quality. And I've got Blue Cruise enabled here. So, you know, it can do the lane change stuff. It can lane center, follow the highway, different things like that. So really, really going to be good for like the big long road trips that you're going to want to do. And also it is an added bonus that, you know, especially at nighttime in the dark, people can only see my headlights and kind of the outline of the vehicle. So they drive extremely carefully around me. Like I said, this thing looks like a cop SUV. So for once, I'm not afraid of the boys in blue. I kind of look like one, which is interesting. I find the steering wheel, like, as second glance, a little, like, it's small, but it's thick. So it's like, for the vehicle, I just feel like maybe I would have liked maybe a bit of a bigger form steering wheel, but I like the thickness of it. It's nice and big. You know, nice and good to get your hands around. Very nice. They upgraded the materials on the interior quite a lot. Like, I think that was the biggest area in which they changed. I don't think the exterior they did too much work on, little refinements here and there, but the interior we kind of got rid of that big iPad now. I'll show you all of it once we actually get inside here. I'll show you kind of what it's like to sit behind the driver's seat. And yeah, so it's like a third row, really big vehicle, but I think that we're gonna have a good time with it, especially since we're gonna get some kind of not great weather. It's gonna be freezing rain, it's gonna snow. It's kind of gonna do everything to me this week. So I'm glad that I have a nice and heavy vehicle with all-wheel drive, and the speed of this thing is just really impressive. So you've never driven like really quick, like really super high performance cars, or like, you know, just, you know, generally more sporty cars in general, then the Explorer ST is going to feel really, really quick to you. Like, that acceleration is good. And also it sounds kind of good too. I can't tell if it's pumped in. I don't think it is. It doesn't feel like it's pumped in audio. It feels like it's just straight noise. That's really cool. I mean, they did a good job at making like this otherwise, you know, kind of regular 3-row SUV be something pretty awesome. Oh yeah, that's got some nice kick to it. This is like adult fast. This is like if you're a dad, you find this thing fast, and you know, it just so happens that I am a dad and I find this thing quite fast. So yeah, confirmed, dad fast, confirmed. So yeah, we'll take you through the week. I'll pick it back up a little bit later. We'll show you the exterior, a little bit more of the trunk space and everything else in between in case you're interested to know what it's like to live with a Ford Explorer ST. I'll pick it back up later. Back inside the Ford Explorer ST, and I'm in a parking lot that has just complete ice. So let's do a little bit of driving here because it's pretty deserted. We're also going to put it into slippery mode, so that way, so wet, icy, snowy roads. And that is the definition of what I'm currently driving on. You can see that when you're in slippery mode, you can feel all the wheels kind of turning, working all together at the same time to give me the best traction that you could get, right? So, and I'm not driving fast. I don't think I need to. There's some work going on in this parking lot over there. I don't really want to bother them, so I'm not going to be crazy and do donuts right in front of their faces because I think they will call the actual police. Although I look like one, I think they by now know I am not one. But anyways, it handles it really well. Like I can turn. It's a little delayed. Like obviously stopping is not going to be the easiest thing, but kind of going uphill even here, no problem. Kind of cut across here, do a turn in where it's not done at all. I can feel the car sliding just a smidge, just a little bit, but really it's not anything crazy, nothing that would concern me. I feel so in control here, and yeah, really, really good job by Ford with the all-wheel drive system. I'm also heavy, right? That also helps, but really, really good idea to have that slippery mode there. It really helps, I think, traction and everything else. So yeah, just want to show you that quick. Okay, welcome back outside. Ford Explorer ST in the rain, in the ice again, because it's pretty much all the parking lots that I drive in. It's kind of gross, but I wanted to quickly walk around before my equipment gets too wet here. Quickly walk around, kind of show you, let me know what you think of the red. What do you think of the overall design of the Explorer ST? I think it's really cool. I like the fact that at nighttime, you know, people see the front grille in their rearview mirror and they tend to just get out of the way because it looks like a cop car that we have here in Quebec. But this thing is done really well on the trails so far and everything else in between. So yeah, really, really cool. But look at this front end. It just looks like straight out of a cop vehicle. But I'm going to mount my GoPro up right now, and we will kind of drive through this. There's some, you know, it's not good at all. I'll tell you a little bit more about the slippery mode and the different kind of drive modes that we have because it's wet. My feet are wet. Everything's wet. So let's get inside. All right, so now I am inside the Ford Explorer once again. We've got some bad roads. I have it in slippery mode because the roads here are just not good at all. But with slippery mode engaged, my worry of getting stuck is pretty low. Look, like it's a bunch of like old ice. It's currently +1 outside. It's raining like quite a lot. You know, if this, you know, and then now if there's a changeover in the weather, it'll turn to ice really thick and bad. I mean, this is just Quebec winter at its finest, and we're getting it pretty early here in December, which is unfortunate. But I've been lucky enough to get kind of vehicles, especially like this one, the Ford Explorer ST, where you know, it handles it pretty well. Handling is like, usually the steering on the ST, when you're on normal roads and I'm in normal mode, the steering is actually quite stiff. Like, and there's really no way to change that, or at least yet I haven't found a way to change that. But when I'm on like, kind of like, I guess off road, because I mean, there technically is no road here. It's just all ice at the moment. It actually is quite light. It's actually quite maneuverable. And I don't know if that's on purpose. I have a feeling it might be because as soon as I turn it back into its normal mode, it gets pretty firm again. So it's pretty cool that it kind of adjusts the maneuverability of the steering. I mean, I remember driving the kind of like the baser model almost. The base model with all the bells and whistles, kind of we'll call it like that because it didn't have the V6 twin turbo engine in it. And I drove that one up a mountain or like a mountain trail, kind of had the off-road mode engaged. And I remember it kind of doing the same thing. Which I did really enjoy. I thought it was really cool, but I didn't find the steering that stiff. I feel like the ST gets some different tuning than, you know, kind of the other versions or the other platforms of the Explorer, which is not a bad thing. I think that's probably pretty cool that it gets that. So yeah, pretty much if you want to drive on a dirt slash ice road with your, Ford Explorer ST or all-wheel drive Ford Explorer, I think you'll probably be able to handle it quite well, because I'm doing a very good job here. Really, obviously when you stop and go, if there's a stop sign on your trail, or like I stopped on a hill, I think it would struggle a little bit more, especially in these conditions. I mean, just any car would have trouble with it. But look, right now we're kind of on flat ground, little hills here and there, but we don't have to stop. So momentum is very good. It's very much there. Also, of course, I'm on winter tires. That makes a huge difference. But yeah, really good. I got rain sensing wipers as well, so I don't really have to worry about adjusting it when it's kind of chucking rain down like it's doing right now. It's not really that fun to experience, but yeah, very, you can see there, I put a lot more steering. I put a lot more steering input than for the corner, but because it was a little slippery, you had to do that. But now I'm about to get out on some drier roads, so I can switch back into normal mode, and no problem there. We're back into like kind of a full speed. I think slippery mode and wet mode kind of limits power a little bit too, which is obviously the smart thing to do when you want to be careful and drive cautiously. Oh my goodness, my self is burning from these seats. Let me turn that down. All right. So once you're on the normal road, like I said, the steering becomes once again quite stiff, even if I drive it in normal mode. And that's kind of the mode that I keep it in. I don't really drive it in sport too much, especially because it's not good weather. I do obviously put it in sport once in a while, but also this thing seems to like its fuel. I mean, 13.6 liters per 100 kilometers isn't terrible. I think I had worse on the Range Rover last week, and that had like a mild hybrid on board. So, that's kind of weird. But yeah, it just feels like the gas tank is descending quite quickly. I don't think it's, too big. Definitely not an electric, so that's nice. We're not losing any of our range here in the cold weather. So that's good for that. But I like the steering wheel feel overall. The ride quality is really good, even on like really bumpy roads in normal mode. Even in sport mode, honestly, it's very decent. Now, it is raining, but it won't turn my traction control off in sport mode unless I absolutely tell it to, and I'm definitely will not be doing that because, well, I want to live, and I don't want to wrap this big old car around a tree. So we'll give it a little bit of beams though. Oh yeah, the way that this thing moves, and I said this in the beginning, and I've been saying it all week, the way that it distributes all of its weight just so well, even in the wet, even in like bad conditions like I'm currently in right now. And if that's not pumped in audio, very good job, Ford. You let us hear the twin turbo V6. They did not mute it that much. I mean, when it's idling, you really can't hear it. So, I don't know how much of that is pumped in, but hey, that's a nice sound, a very nice tune. Brakes are nice and responsive as well, because you got to have good brakes. If you got all this heavy truck behind all that 400 horsepower, you got to have it, and we definitely do. So yeah, hey, this thing moves. Look, this is definitely like, your not your average dad vehicle or big family vehicle. This thing has some juice, and it's not messing around. For performance, I could actually give it that stamp. I was expecting to get into this thing and be like, oh, for performance, put an ST badge on it. It's not really anything. But actually, this is quite impressive. This thing moves. So if you're worried about that, don't. It moves. Trust me. It's really impressive. Yeah, we like that. All right, I'll pick it back up a little bit later on in the week. All right, so inside, sitting down in the Ford Explorer, let's take a look at the interior. I feel like I've used it for long enough, sat in here long enough to actually have a good idea of what everything does. So you're greeted by this steering wheel. I find it small. I feel like I've driven bigger SUVs that have bigger steering wheels than this, but it is nice and thick. Like, it's really big, and I like a thick steering wheel. It's very nice. We got the red stitching. I like that as well. The ST badge, I like that too. And the classic Ford badge. We've got all physical buttons on the steering wheel, so that's really, really good, considering we don't really have that much here for HVAC control and everything else. So we'll get to that in a second. But I really like that. We do have paddle shifters. We've got this guy that is actually a sensor. It's going to watch my eyes because this vehicle is equipped with the Ford Blue Cruise. So I can turn that on and just basically have a really nice driving experience. It's like advanced cruise control. I've got 3 levels of memory seat settings. I've got all my lighting controls here on my left-hand side. I like what they did with the B&O sound system. They kind of like had this kind of mesh that really splits up the dash and the speaker. It looks really good. Let's take a look at our infotainment display. So everything's going to really be controlled through here, but it is Android Automotive. So they just kind of put a Ford spin to it. They kind of gave it like a Ford, skin, but we got YouTube built in, Amazon Alexa, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. It's all right here. I like it. The built-in navigation is, of course, going to be Google Maps. So if you're a Google Maps user, you will like it as well. I like this screen too. Kind of gives you a full render of the vehicle. Really nice looking. All your climate controls are going to be right here. You can kind of slide it up, where you have a button here that you can kind of see what's happening with everything. If you don't if you want a physical button for that, well, you're probably not going to get one. You're not going to like it too much because there just isn't really anything physical here. You do have heated seats and ventilated seats, so that's really nice. And of course, the heated steering, so I like that as well. It's been very easy to use. They've gone away from the iPad design, so I think a lot of the people that didn't like the iPad will probably like this a lot more. I do like it a lot more. I use the iPad design on the Mach-E Ford F-150 Lightning, and I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't crazy about it. It's not my top. This is kind of back to normal. And I think back to what people want, so that's really good. We do have, like I said, a little bit of physical buttons. So if I press this, I'll get my 360-degree camera. It's very dirty, my camera, so it's not really useful right now. But we do have like our auto start stop button, our parking chime button, the four-way, stuff like that is all here. And you got a physical volume knob, but that is about it for physical buttons. Just a little bit lower than that, we have our wireless charging pad, as well as like another storage for another phone or other stuff. I kind of like this shelf design. It's very nice. You just hop in the car and you throw your phone on the charger. It's very easy. And, it's not really distracting because you can't really see it when it does get a notification. So I think it's a perfect placement. I like the Ford Explorer kind of logo right there on the passenger side. Both the driver and the passenger seat are both massaging seats. So that's also a super nice touch here at like kind of the top end of the Explorer. Moving on though, we got a little bit more storage down here. Very nice little compartment that has the USB chargers inside of it. Gear selector is round circle, no problem. Drive modes are pretty cool too. We've got the slippery, we've got the trail, we've got a normal mode, we've got eco mode, we've also got sport mode, and we've got a towing and hauling mode. So very good there, no problem. 2 cup holders, which is standard. I got a little bit of storage in here too. It's adequate. 2 USB chargers in there as well, and I really dig these seats. You can see I've got like the ST badge kind of etched in, but it hides itself, so from this end you can't see it, but from straight on you can. Really cool design. Really like the comfort. It's got a good mix of like, this nice soft touch material as well as the leather. So that's really nice to feel and just sit on. You can see the back seat. We've got the captain's chairs configuration as well as the third rows up. I will go back there if I have time this week, but overall for the front seat, just for the interior in general, really good job by Ford. I feel like this is, as high quality as it gets in this price point. I think it's good. There's a couple things missing. Obviously, I'd like to see a digital rearview mirror. Obviously, I'd like more physical buttons because we have it on the steering wheel, so that's really good. I just would like to see it here underneath, or just somehow quick access something into the bottom of the infotainment screen at least would make things a little bit more bearable. But that is really it. I mean, for what it is, $76,000 is a lot of vehicle to buy, and hopefully, you're going to get your money's worth with the speed and stuff, because this is a very fast SUV, an impressively fast SUV. So, yeah, let's take it on some more road stuff if that's what's next. Okay, back outside with the Ford Explorer ST. Let's take a look under the hood. It's a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 engine that's going to give us 400 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque to all-wheel drive, and everything in between. So not a crazy engine. Doesn't really tell you twin-turbo or anything. Doesn't have Ford performance on the engine cover or really anything like that. But it does move quite well for a 3-row. Like, it is impressive how well this thing gets around, and it's all powered by this nice gas engine. Still glad to see that we have gas engines in 2025, especially a twin turbo V6. You really can't hate on it, so I like it. The only thing that bothers me is this car is quite expensive, right? Like 76,000, 79, something like that. And look, still have this metal rod that holds open the trunk. I just feel like for that amount of money, it could hold itself open. Like, that technology has been around for a long time. So that's my only complaint. Otherwise, it's powerful. All right, so back outside one final time this week with the Ford Explorer ST. After spending a week with it, I really like this platform. I think it's really good. I think it's expensive, but I mean, what vehicle in this kind of range with a V6 twin turbo isn't expensive, right? It's kind of hard to find one nowadays that's like affordable and fast and all that stuff. You got speed, you're gonna have to pay the price. That's kind of how it is. So really, I think we do get enough. I think it's going to be really well used by the emergency services, especially here in Canada and in Quebec in my area. And I think it's also just going to be used by consumers. I see a lot of the older versions. I expect this one to kind of start coming out and start getting catched up with the people. I love this quad exhaust system that we've got here. It sounds good. It flies. I mean, this, like I said, I've been saying this in all video. This thing's got dad speed. I mean, it's just, there's God speed and then there's dad speed. You know, like it's a 3-row, it's usable, it's big. You can put all your stuff inside of it, but also it's fast. The way that it moves is so surprising. Like, it really will catch you off guard. And I love it. I just love it for that fact. And yeah, it's just awesome. Love it in the red too. Really cool. It's cold out here once again, although the sun's out. But let's hop in one final time and I'll give you my final impressions for the Ford Explorer ST. All right, so on the road for the last time, losing the sun as you do very quickly here in the winter near the end of the day. But on the road for the last time with the Ford Explorer ST. And it's been a really good week. It's been good to actually spend a little bit more time with the Ford Explorer. I didn't get that long. You know, when you do press events, like I've been saying all week, like it's just, you just can't have enough time. But now I feel like I've got good thoughts. I mean, I feel like that this is the best step forward for the Explorer. I think now it's heading in the right direction. It's kind of got the software figured out in just letting it be Android Automotive and let the software company make the software and the car company will make the car. And I feel like the blend there is very well done. And I do like what they've done with it. They've kind of put a Ford skin on it, but it's still very much an Android Automotive system, which makes everything just easier. They've gone away with the iPad stuff, a lot more soft touch material, a lot better of, like, I guess, thinking when it comes to the interior. Exterior didn't really need that much of a tweak, but it did get some. And then we've also got the twin turbo V6, which is an absolute little unit of an engine. I really like it. I love the way it drives. I love the way it sounds. I think it's fun to drive, and I also think it's really good in all weather conditions. Like you saw, we drove it on the ice, we drove it in the rain, we drove it in the wind, the snow, pretty much everything. I mean, the weather this week has really changed quite quick. I mean, right now we've got dry roads, but, you know, come tomorrow morning, I could have, 10 centimeters of snow. You just never know. But if you have the Ford Explorer, you know that you're always going to be okay. And I think that's super important for, potential buyers. That's going to be important for, like, the police vehicles, the fire department vehicles, all the emergency service vehicles that use this car. It's going to be important for that car to be safe, reliable, and everything in between. Oh yeah, I love that noise. This thing, just the way that it distributes power, the way that it's fast, the way that it reacts, is definitely got Ford performance written all over it. I'm not sure how they make it go that fast. I mean, 400 horsepower in a 3-row doesn't sound like that much, but actually this thing makes it feel like a lot more than that. I don't know why. I don't know why 400 feels low when it comes to how this thing actually speeds up and accelerates really quickly. It's kind of impressive. So yeah, I do think that in 2025, if you're interested in the Ford Explorer, now might be the time to do it. I think it's its best foot forward. Obviously, you hope that they include something like a hybrid system later on down the road, but even if they don't, I think you would still be happy with your purchase. Very usable, very easy to use. And yeah, it's gotten way better than it's ever been before. So really can't complain about that either. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I really want to know how you feel about it because I think it's pretty cool having spent kind of, a considerable amount of time with it at this point. I think it's pretty good, a really good platform, and I expect to see a ton more out on the road. So with that being said, I will see you the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.